Don, I've known since about 84, 85 or something like that, long way back, probably before most of you were born. And you know, I do that writing exercise. You write, I do it a lot. You write for yourself, you write to a friend, you write to somebody who's going to supervise you. So it's an exercise in writing. If you write yourself, you write what you don't know, you write to a supervisor, probably get stuck. If you write to a friend, you're able to write. It was you. A long, long while ago when I was doing my PhD in the UK and Tim Rice was busy, nobody was busy, and I didn't know what the hell I was writing. On this ancient old Mac, I wrote to you. And I don't think I ever sent it to you because of just writing to you, thinking about you, got me through my writer's block. So, and they've all done this exercise. It's following us all the time. And you're the inspiration point. Oh, Krista. Yes. So Don is one of the world's best listeners, which probably makes a very good writer. So Krista, come. So this is a small group, a group of friends. So this is my dear friend from a long while back who's written a beautiful book, Donald, the lead to our undoing, which is a trilogy. So before we hand over to Don, I think let's just introduce everyone in the room. So we have Tapua comes.
Hi there.
Ah.
Hi.
Right. So we'll just go around so you can introduce Tapua.
Wow, hi. They call me Tapua, but they say I should say Timkulu. Yeah. Kamalam Timkulu.
Writer, performer.
I'm Alex. I'm just on pandemic with Pam.
Used to be a licensing consultant, now a lecturer.
Many years ago.
And I'm Marty Townsend from the University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri. And I'm a long time friend of Pam, and she of mine. She got me here, and I'm grateful.
And I learned about writing programs from
I do in Missouri what Pam does here, kind of, sort of,
very
maybe a little bit.
And here we have Florence, who jetted in from the UK a couple of days ago.
Hi there.
Hi. So I'm South African, and my African name is Simangele, means we are surprised, and it follows me everywhere.
Oh,
So I actually studied here at Wits, and I used to work at the writing school as well, and it helped me so much. But being friends with Pam and being her neighbor as well actually made me, I think, a better person. I'm currently writing a memoir and learning how to do that, writing more. And I'm intrigued by writing short stories and poems, and have such a inquisitive mind. So I can't wait to learn more from you.
Wow, thank you so much.
Here we have Rochelle.
Hi, my name is Rachel. I am a student at the African Literature Department and writing fellow and consultant with the writers.
Rochelle's been doing a lot of the hard work for the festival. We're deeply grateful, as has Gabrielle.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle.
Thank you,
I'm also
Gabrielle.
I also work at the Writing Center. I'm a writing consultant. I'm doing my master's in creative writing.
Oh, wonderful.
Looking at the screen, I'm realizing we do not hear.
Very nice.
Yeah, but I think I'm a Ubuntu marketer. I'm from the African Lit department as well. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Yes, I understand as well because I'm sure. So now I'm also in the African Literature department.
Very nice.
And another friend.
Hello, I'm Krista Koljian, and I did a master's in creative writing here at Wits about 20 years ago. And I write narrative nonfiction and have published 3 books of narrative nonfiction. And so I'm looking forward to, the entire festival.
Wonderful.
Coming in, we have Brian. Is it Brian? Yes. Brian, we're just introducing ourselves to Don. Well, Brian is there. And we've got Josh here, who's also a writing consultant, a writer, and helping us with all the technical stuff.
Hello.
Hello.
Many, many thanks, Don. And I know people are not going to be able to get hold of the book easily. So Don sent this to my brother in the UK and I brought it here. And it's part of a trilogy. Yes, it's probably the only copy around at the moment, but we'll try and find other ways of getting hold of it.
You know, it's there's an ebook copy on all the platforms, so you should be able to easily get an ebook copy if anyone's interested.
Okay, very good, very good. So Don, over to you.
Thank you. First of all, I'm just so honored to be here. I just can't tell you how much I visited South Africa and Pam and Melville and in 2009, and I started this project in 2007, and the visit to South Africa, and we went to Botswana, and we stayed actually in Kabwe, Zambia for. We drove there. We must have stayed there for 2 months, I think, or maybe 6 weeks, something like that. And it changed my life. And what changed my life, I would say, is when I was there, I realized how much the narrative of apartheid really was central to South Africa's history and identity. And I understood for the first time in a really, really new way that race in America and slavery in America is the national story here. And they are trying to mute it right now. They're trying to actually keep it from being taught, that history. The Trump administration and the DeSantis administration and many of the Republican states, governors are trying to no longer allow African-American history to be taught in the schools. They're literally trying to mute that history. And so I'm so absolutely touched by the theme of this conference, and I think it could not be more germane in so many ways. They're trying to mute everyone in this country who is diverse or different from the sort of the white male ideal, which from my perspective is at the heart of the humanist project going back to Plato. And I've been teaching post-humanist studies for probably, I'm not now because I'm retired, but when I taught for the last 12 years of my teaching, I taught a course in post-humanist studies, and it takes direct aim at that Platonic humanist ideal of that man is the measure of all things, which in a colonial context ends up being white, male, hetero individuals, and the whole, and also it's also speciesist in the sense that every other living thing on the planet in the humanist universe is inferior to human beings. And so posthumanism also takes a direct aim at all kinds of, every kind of notion of exceptionalism, basically. And so the idea of unmuting all of us who do not fit that ideal is thrilling to me. And especially in light of the fact that yesterday the American government revoked the visa of Wole Soyinka, which, you know, is, how do you do that? How can you do that? And they're doing it because they do not like what he said about Trump in the past. So, yeah, and I'll also say that this book is also about an unmuting. It's literally about a buried voice, and that buried voice, it has all kinds of allegorical resonances. I'll sort of leave it to the reader to decide what those are. But from the beginning, we can see that Molly, the narrator, who's inspired by another, shall we say, vocal Molly in literary history, she, shall we say, recognizes herself for the first time and gives herself the permission to speak. And I think, if anything, we must all give ourselves permission to speak and not be afraid. and speak out. So I'll read, I would say about 12 minutes. I don't want to bore the crap out of you. But I'll read for 12 minutes and then maybe we can have a little discussion. Is that good?
Lovely.
Yeah.
Okay, great. As a final straw, they buried me in this traffic circle under the cover of night. The soil was in the jaws of December, though I'd been in a freeze of another kind for months already. They were able to pull it off because the panhandlers and druggies that usually track by, they and the beat cops who tail them, beg off that time of year. And yet the relocation didn't go without a hitch. Just when they figured things were going smoothly, an officer from the Parks Authority picked up their scent and issued a citation for illegal dumping. Nothing about him said, "Don't do this." Instead, it was more, "I got a quota to fill." But never mind, they carried on, ticket in hand, Wren and Jake with Donald colluding. They hemmed me in one of the flower beds of this roundabout, just across from the beds coiling the museum. That winter, I rattled with the semis passing by. I whiled away the time under that thinking eye overhead, the one that signals caution to the flow of traffic, breaking from God knows where to God knows where. The vehicle shot past the place I wanted to be, in the company of the ever-musing one on the museum steps. That brazen nude. A thinker like me. It was there that Jake and I used to kill time when he should have been in school. The ground around me has softened now. The blanket with the chrysanthemum pattern that they wrapped me in has begun the process of decay. I sense the root of a daffodil breaking through, feeding off me. If Harry were here, he'd howl, "Stop your barking." But he's not here. Not him, Flory, or Diana, nor Jake, for sure. It's just Wren and Donald who pay their respects. They and the little one do their best to stop by somewhere in the vicinity. Jake, meanwhile, is in another state, one a mile high, that paradise he up and hightailed it to. His exit from me was an expectation of some kind. An expectoration is more like it. Hacking up, ridding himself of his life here, or running for running's sake. Granted, a death is a tough nut to unshell, but the important thing is what comes after, including basics like soil and water. It won't do to go looking for a better version elsewhere. I mean, demons follow you everywhere, to any soil or water, like the kind all around me. Unlike so much in life, they're uncancelable, like the memories that haunt me. I've heard April is the cruelest month, and it's true in a way. The rain drops down like tears, trapping fluorocarbons as they descend here in the forest city. But the sun shows through from time to time, making it a hybrid state that I inhabit. I'm attuned to the world it creates, that's awash in blooms. In this year of the plague, the first of two in his time, and the one most people overlook, Jake considers himself lucky. Does he thank me now that he realizes finally that I had something to offer? About staying alive, most of all. Not just him, but others too. They thought I was clueless, that I didn't see color, that I existed in a world of gray, as though that were a bad thing. I'd argue it's better than seeing things in black or white, or worse, seeing only color. Jake with a newfound vision, allowing him to notice me finally, which I sense all the way here. Those moments when he spirits himself into town, I recognize his shoes as he jogs by, though they avoid darkening the ground where I am. It's such a change from the way he and I were tethered for so many years. That is, until he ran off and unleashed the others on me. After he'd lost faith in his own kind, beginning with his own family. God forbid it should be just the two of us, a long-awaited meeting of souls, that's S-O-U-L-S, or souls, S-O-L-E-S, as the case may be. Usually he spills from Donald and Wren's, faking ignorance of my presence as though that night in December never took place. I not only know his tread, but those of all the others, though he assumes I'm oblivious. A mere swelling in the ground, a place marker for what was, a memory interred, anything but myself, a thinker like him. I make nothing of it. I inhabit a different reality, tucked away from the pain and inertia, the weight loss and lesions in Jake's world. Run, Jake! What is there to recall me by anyway? A daffodil like any other. It too will droop. Toast, it'll turn. It'll peter out in the sun. A ring of daffodils, a wheel of light, a circle of bulbs beneath the earth, and me among them. If Jake can't find me, it's because they never bothered to leave a stone. I heard him tell Wren that the one he found just above, black and shiny and pooched at one end. The rock he pocketed unbeknownst to anyone reminded him of me, to which I replied, your heart, my dear. No, there was no stone or cross sticks planted during that makeshift ritual. God forbid. He would have never stood for that, for cross sticks most of all, which by then he'd renounced entirely. When the clouds don't bathe me, they bless me. Stone or no stone, cross sticks or no cross sticks. Objective time abandons me. Now, a thing that doesn't exist up there, has assumed jurisdiction. Meanwhile, the grind of freezing and thawing dogs the soil. The rock below levitates upward, threatens to dislodge me, heaves into and irritates my side like a prod. The only relief I get is from words. From me, of all people, the one they refused to believe capable of both language and thought when I was up there. On this rock, I read tales almost too raw to relate, about personages faceless as sparrows, yet not without countenance. Consequence, too. The rock's untold tales and me, Molly, the two of us here, take up residence. We are too close for me to consider forgetting, just below the surface, the story stone and me in a drawn-out conversation. Its shoulders threatens to dislocate me permanently to the land of silence if I don't speak. So I engage while I can, a mute with something to say, never mind the mire and whatnot around me. No one sees or notices, but I recognize me. I spy this ancient erratic, product of a world I never knew. Mottled as a killdeer's egg, it's neither jade nor diamond. It's more a bone to console me where they plop me down this rabbit hole. My only consolation is I know I haunt Jake still. For him, my heart failed initially. I ranted about his rocky heart, stuck as I was in that electrofreeze, tossed among the other stiffs. And from well over 1,000 miles away, he heard. He came back. How could he possibly recognize me, I wondered at the time, with years and miles between us, not to mention a chain of events that held him after he reached the city of inversions. A mile high, stuffing a shoebox with cocktail napkins drawn from phony names and numbers. I let it be known I was holding out for the whole enchilada, a proper visit and not a mere passing through, not to mention an apology for having abandoned me the way he did. But when I whiffed my boy's circumstances up there, standing on a field of a different kind of passing than the one he fled here, that melted me, caused me to realign my position regarding him and our past. We've come to terms, Jake and I. Immortality, if you will. On the prairies and mesas, or whatever they're called, just below the foothills where he lives, where they season piety with 3 shakes of fanaticism. They're a bunch of crazies out here, he declared. Much more religious than back east. All the way in the forest city, I feel the beat of the mariachis around him. I move with the pulse of the placita Tommy's from. I sense the beat from across 1,400 odd miles, the way I never could back then. My gringo. What does he know about drum beats or heartbeats, or any kind of beak, quite frankly. Regarding Tommy most of all, the one he's got his eye on. The two of them check every food label they encounter, tot up vitamin and fat contents. He and Tommy both. The money he used to blow on the lottery he now sinks into running shoes. He listens to Spanish conjugations on his cassette player, mows his nails over verb tenses, hidden sugar contents, and unnatural dyes. When he's visiting Ren, he avoids the solitude of what nature there is here as he jogs by. Is that what the Mile High City has taught you? He buys ever more cushioned sneakers with thicker soles to separate himself from the earth. He's moved to a trailer park, he told Donald on a power run, fronted by a fiberglass cowboy, giant, free, and eternal. And then I have just two short other paragraphs basically to read. These are two paragraphs from the end of the story after Molly has told basically their whole history, and they spent some time on a river called the Shagaran. One thing the Shagaran taught me, Tommy, as cliched as it sounds, is nothing lasts forever. Neither cocksure belief nor even an identity given the way things shift. Being on the river taught me that there's no sense dreaming about a stable me when the flow of life alters it so much. I mean, a person's got to swim to keep up. Anything or anyone you point to as the finished thing is just yesterday's news. Like a body bobbing on a river, shy of the point it went in. There's a plenitude of Jakes out there, Molly's too. In all my life, I've never known Jake to be the way he is out here. And I'm sure you'll discover different ones as well. Molly speaking this to Tommy. I'm sure you'll discover different ones as well, not just from year to year or decade to decade, but day to day. You'll have to make allowances. And when you see each other morphing into something unrecognizable, figure out a way to go with it. Truth be told, I sense myself shifting even as I relate the story. The tail wags the dog, which is a koan to contemplate when you consider I'm history. The role I was relegated to was that of a soundboard, and now here I am sounding off. For these and other reasons, I feel you, you and all of us who've been slotted, subject to a name, limited to a singularity. I've heard people say it's inevitable, that kind of reduction, though I doubt it. Okay, and then one final paragraph. I would like to say that a work, bred with good intentions, lasts forever, though experience tells otherwise. Voices fail, as people do. Any graveyard, larger than this plot they plotted me in, gives witness to the hordes who've been silenced, never to speak again. Leaving what in their place? Marble, granite, sandstone, or wood, sometimes bare earth. I sense myself moving in that direction, feel my telltale wits giving in to the stone here, the one that continues to usurp my position, shouldering me from myself. It's nothing new to suggest, thinkers have been saying it for some time, namely that in spinning my tale for you, Tommy, I'm spinning my own death, the real kind and not the demise of the body, shifting me into another kind of body, as though this web of words were my undoing. And yet, although everything I say mortifies me, sets me in a sense in stone, I live still. Which is to say that if you or Jake or anyone fancies exhuming me, simply take to digging, unearthing where my heart once was until you track down this rock here, the one I leave behind, a mass of lines. Just breathe into it and I'll spring to life. It'll be me and not me as you fashion me most of all. Thank you. Thank you. One thing I can say is I'll just say so as a preface, the Forest City is the name of the city I grew up in, which is Cleveland, Ohio. And if anyone's been to Cleveland, Ohio, you know it's one of the dirtiest cities, or it was one of the dirtiest cities in America. It certainly was when I lived there. But because it was all forested when it was founded in 1803, they called it the Forest City. And then it just was quickly all destroyed by pollution. And the river there, the Cuyahoga River, spontaneously caught fire in 1969 because it was so polluted. On a hot summer day, it just burst in flames. So there's the irony of the city being called the Forest City. And then the Mile High City is Denver, Colorado. Okay.
Sit on it.
Sorry, leave the microphone.
Right, okay.
There you go.
Is there any responses? Yes, Lawrence. That's Mengay.
Mengay. Then you can call me Sima. Can you hear me, Don?
I can sort of hear you. It's somehow a little difficult, but I can hear you.
Okay. So thank you for reading out
Oh my God.
that part of the book. It's intriguing because it sounds like a dead person writing about the perpetrator and how he's haunting them, but also how he wishes to be remembered. But while he's remembered, he's also aware of what's happening around him, but he also can't communicate that. So is he a ghost?
Well, it's a she. It's not just a she, but it's a dog. It is a dog named Molly, and Molly has all kinds of allegorical resonances. Like I think I said that earlier, and in some ways, I don't want to give it away, but I will say that at one point Molly says, "Nature and I are one," and in a city as polluted as Cleveland, the idea of nature speaking back, as well as a dog. We think of animals as so many people until recently, and many people I speak to today still think of animals as not sentient at all and not capable of language. And part of thinking about posthumanism, and Jane Goodall is one of the ones who taught me this, is to learn to listen to the body language and to what we know now that birds have avian speech. They have a grammar and dialects and so forth. And so it's about us sort of getting out of our exceptionalism and listening to all the beings around us, listening to each other from whatever subject position we're coming from, but also listening to the natural world as well. So yes, Molly is a voice of so many things. And from my perspective, women as well, because we know how women are still trying to be muted. It's incredible. I meet so many women who still tell me today that in their jobs, they're still trying to be shut down by men, basically. And so, yes, Molly is speaking for many people, I think.
Very coherent question, but I love the book and I love the character of Molly, and also that the dead are not dead. And that's really interesting, because I think that's also been a theme of the festival, that many of us have remembered the dead and pulling. And I just read a bit from the first page of Zoe Wickham's last book, and it's the writer who's got all these ghosts around them, and they're demanding to talk.
Wow.
And that's your beginning too. That there are these things aren't dead, stories aren't dead. And this gorgeous animal. I mean, Alex told me, but you knew that this dog was going to die. But I still didn't know this dog was going to die. I still wanted this dog to live. So it's I don't know what to, how does, very incoherent question, but I think your book is very much about the dead talking and the dead not being dead. Any thoughts on that? Is that something to do with literature and the imagination and our consciousness?
Yeah, it does actually. I'll first say I want to make a note about literature. And one thing I want to say is that the idea of the dead speaking is a theme throughout the trilogy. And in the last volume especially, the father, Harry, dies. So he's sort of like the bad guy because I grew up in this white flight suburb of Cleveland when the first African-American family moved in my street when I was little. The white families headed for the suburbs. That was in the 1950s. And that was during the Great Migration of African Americans from the South to the North. And so Harry represents sort of all those things, that sort of racist response, the sexist response, the homophobic response. He sort of represents, in this volume at least, MAGA America, which is sort of what I grew up in before MAGA got a name. This idea of Trump's idea of make America great again, which, so problematic on so many levels, like A, like it were ever really great in a certain way, and B, like you can ever recover whatever that was or go back to whatever that patriarchal era was. But in the third volume, Harry dies, and Jake says, now I can finally get to know Harry. And he says basically, and Harry actually has a sort of conversion toward the end because he's been so abandoned by everyone in his family. And he feels the sting of their abandonment and realizes it's because of the way he's been, that he has basically lost his very family. And so he comes around in just such an awkward way. He's lost teeth, he's lost all his hair. He's sort of like, it's sort of like he's a kind of allegorized version of the end of white patriarchy from my perspective. And after he dies, Jake makes a point of saying, and also the third novel is narrated by a biracial trans male, a trans guy, and the trans guy was written out of Harry's life actually because his parents were an interracial couple, and he actually kicked his daughter out of the house. Anyway. So all these bad things in his past, and Jake says, now I can finally get to know my father. And he tries to find a father who might have been different had he not been a product basically of American culture in the post-Civil War and post-Reconstruction and all the racist stuff that happened, post-Jim Crow, post-KKK. He tries to imagine what his father might have been had he not grown up in that America. And so, yes, the dead, the dead live from my perspective. And actually, the whole second novel, Ojo, it's called Ojo, and the entire second novel is entails. I don't even know. The ghost is not the right word. The boyfriend that Jake finally finds, and the reason that causes him to leave the forest city is he falls in love with a man named Peacoat, who's a Native American guy. And Peacoat's death completely unnerves him. And so the second novel is about Jake after he leaves and goes to the Mile High City, and he's haunted, like literally by a presence of Peacoat. Every time he turns around, like he was gay bashed and actually drowned, and he was there when the body washed up on the side of Lake Erie, this polluted lake, and he has that. That is the presence that haunts him throughout the entire second novel. So yes, it is definitely definitely a series about death and about the ways that that Toni Morrison said this, right? Like, and she's one of my inspirations, of course, that the dead never die. They're always with us. And I think Beloved is precisely about that whole thing.
Hi, we like put cool. Done. You started writing, and I was told to write. You started reading, and I was instructed to write words in response to your book or to you. I don't know. You will hear them. They say borderless blood vessels, borderless people, borderless bodies, borderless stories, borderless bones. The birds, flowers, migrating animals will tell you of borderless wings,
Wow.
borderless voices, borderless names.
Beautiful. Beautiful. That's lovely. What I want to say is, again, the whole theme of unmuting is about removing borders, isn't it? It's about being borderless in a sense, and we have to start with ourselves always and giving our permission to go beyond all those borders, those just ridiculous social constructions. I mean, even the whole notion of gender or race or sexual orientation, those are all constructions. They're so random and they're so arbitrary and they're so meaningless in so many ways. They're real because we know we live with them, but they're absolutely meaningless in any kind of ontological sense. And so it seems like being borderless, that's so beautiful. I'm incredibly touched by that. That's really what it's all about.
Hi, so I can read kindly the novel. And I slept on and I read it in maybe 3 days. Because
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
can you hear me? No? Can you hear me now? Is that better? Or is so?
Yeah, yeah, it was just a little garbled.
Okay. All right. So Pam linked me the novel and I read it in about 3 days.
Wow.
It brings together two, I would say, quite lifelong things for me. And one is the obviously post-humanist aspect, because that's my area of English crit. And that it's a Gothic narrative, really, at its heart. I was very curious about why. I mean, I can see why, as a post-humanist, you chose Molly to narrate. And she's a particularly anthropomorphized subjectivity, though. And I wanted to know, was that so? Okay, what I'm getting at is that I wrote a chapter a while ago, and I've never had a book that really demonstrated the usefulness of anthropomorphism in telling marginalized stories. And I just felt that was something that I would really like to critique and work with, or maybe use your novel to enhance that particular chapter that I wrote a couple of them talking 5 years ago. But why Molly? Why her particularly? Why did you choose to anthropomorphize her to the extent that she actually understands religion and the downfalls of religion? Because that was very interesting to me.
Well, that's a great question, and not just religion. She understands Einstein's theory of relativity. She she understands she understands more than I do. Well, there's a couple of reasons for that, and one has to do with fictionality and the notion of fictionality, and especially the novel. And if we cannot I'm not going to say empathize, but it's about listening to me. It's about having a big giant ear in life, and we are doomed if we cannot bridge the chasm of difference between all human beings as they've been socially constructed, as random and arbitrary as they are. the only thing we have is what we hear. The only thing we have to go on in terms of understanding the subject position of somebody across what Derrida calls this sort of abyssal connection. And he talks about the connection between humans and animals, and especially as abyssal. It is just a giant chasm. But he also says we must try. And that's true between every sentient thing. I feel that way towards plants, actually, that I need to listen to plants. And that is what the novel allows us to do. The novel gives us that great ability to, first of all, do our research and listen. I mean, I started, again, this project in 2007, and I read hundreds and hundreds of books on all of these things that I've been that I wanted to write about. I spoke to hundreds of people just listening to what they had to say, and the novel gives us this great ability to bridge those abyssal gaps, so to speak. I mean, how could a man ever really write about a woman? How can a white person ever write about a person of color without doing really the hard work of research and listening and letting them speak? And after all those years of teaching that course in posthumanism and doing so much work on animal sentience and hearing Jane Goodall say when the interviewer asked her one time, "Is it chimpanzees that taught you that animals have mind?" She said, "No, it was my dog Rusty when I was 13 who told me that dogs have mind." And so she knew from the time she was a kid that there's a person in there. So that's one thing. The other thing is I wanted to have a narrator who was outside, who sort of, no pun intended, but didn't have a dog in the fight of human difference and human bigotry and human hatred, a narrator who was in a way leashed to human culture because, that's what all of nature is. And all of nature is leashed to us as human beings. It's and there's this clueless family at the center of this novel, these clueless parents, and the dog is sort of leashed to that white working class family. And I wanted to have a narrator who was in a way an observer of human behavior and a listener of human behavior, and who knows us better basically than the dogs or cats or whatever animals that we have in our lives, right? They observe us better than anyone. And I have a dog who does never not have two eyes trained on me. And so they by definition are observers. And so I wanted to have a narrator who in a certain way saw it all, but was not tied to all of the bigoted relations between human beings who because we know dogs don't care, right? Dogs, like, are you treating me nicely or are you treating me badly? So, I guess I could probably go on for there, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that I wanted this sort of outsider figure, and I also again wanted to think about the way fiction operates. I guess that's it. I understand that I think there's no escaping a certain kind of projection, no matter what, in all relations. It doesn't matter what the relation is. In a certain way, projection is the nature of relating, and anthropomorphism is a kind of projection from my perspective. But you're totally right. You're completely right.
I'm eating the other dinner.
Pardon?
Oh, sorry.
I missed it. Go for it.
You want to say something, Tatu? Tatu, do you have something to say?
Yeah, so I was wondering, I wanted to come back to the point of writing from other people's perspectives, even though you don't have their actual real experience. Like if you are a person of color,
Right.
and you're writing another person's ethnicity or even a different gender, how does one go about that, but staying true to the experience of those people, because not you can't have enough research to be able to really write about someone's lived experience, so how do you approach that?
I agree. I agree. And the only thing I can say to that is just such a smart comment, and I completely agree with it. The one thing I can say is that every single category, is multiple, and so every single category has endless number of voices in it. My formula, if there could be a formula, is to make them complex. Don't make any character a stereotype. Don't make any character adhere to any of the givens that are out there in the world. Let them subvert every single category that culture applies to whatever group that a character might belong to. I guess that's sort of that there are African American characters in this series. Well, it's a very diverse series. The whole thing is diverse. Last thing I wanted to do was write a white guy's story. I wanted to write a story that reflects the world I live in, and for me to, that's the problem, isn't it? For me to write only white people, it'd be just white males and white gay males. That would be so boring to me. I mean, I hate gay ghettos. We call it a gay ghetto well, and so, I mean, it's, there are places in the world that are mostly gay and mostly gay male. And the last thing I wanted to do was represent that world. I wanted to represent a fully diverse world. And the minute you try to do that, you are exactly in that problem. All the problems that you're raising are unavoidable problems, I would say.
Thank you so much. That's very powerful insight. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I want to say one more thing. Toni Morrison said, don't write about what you know, write about what you don't know. And that was her putting a giant burden on the writer's shoulders, like this massive rock on the writer's shoulders, to basically do your research and talk to people and listen. It was that I think is the thing that gave me permission to write, to be quite honest.
Wow. That's amazing.
Just about run out of time, but is there somebody in the room who'd like to ask Don the question?
I talk to dogs.
Oh, well, nice.
When I got into the premises of the university, I could smell the lavenders. I could smell different fragrances, and I began to speak to the flowers beside the big one, the tree, who became my mother today.
Oh, wow.
I just thought about the work that I have been writing and teaching with the talking tree. How your work sounds like my talking tree in a different way. How the characters, some of them are ants having conversations about what we have here in South Africa. We have what we call load shedding. And load shedding, that's electricity cuts.
Okay.
And strikes, protests.
Oh, okay.
And so the ants are discussing that with the other animals of that world, and they're imagining scenarios where they say, what if the tree and the tree nations goes on a protest, a strike, of not working? They decide to put the tools down and say, we are no longer converting what is it, what is it, nitrogen and whatever that the trees to give us air. What will happen?
That's right.
What will happen to the human race? Will they also start commercializing air? Will they go to war for air? Because it seems like they are in a bloody war to ravage everything that's on site, and they forget that we were here first before.
We need that tree's story. We need a narrative from the perspective of that tree.
Yeah, so you just reminded me of that. You just reminded me of quantum entanglement, how we are one. We are one with nature. We are not part of, we are nature.
It's in
Stardust are in us.
everywhere,
Yeah,
right? It's all
everywhere,
nature.
everywhere. Hemoglobin, it's chlorophyll. You know, we could learn a lot from the trees and animals,
Yeah,
how to be better human beings.
very nice.
Thank you.
What I want to say one more thing, and it goes back to both the question about anthropomorphism and the idea of projecting a identity or getting into an identity of something you're not. One thing I knew I did not want to do was write any kind of cute identity. I wanted it to be someone that does what all things do when they get to speak, and that is trouble us and make us uncomfortable and make us squirm a little bit. That's my goal, always, is to make people squirm. I hope I can say one four-letter word that's not the F word, but a different one. But, oh no, it is going to be the, no, I'll say another one. I want when people read for them to reach a certain point where they go, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. That's what I want them to say. Sorry, okay. I'm sorry for that word, but it's real.
Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I loved all your comments. They're so spot on. I just love them all. Thank you so much. And thank you, Pam and Alexandra and Fawad and Leah and Joshua and all the others who are involved in putting this conference together. And all of you for being here. It touches me deeply.
Thank you, Dawn, and thank you for being here, and thank you for reading this great work, writing this wonderful book, which I'm happy to learn. Take
Thank
care,
you.
Dawn.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you so much, Donald.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.